It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. We're going to go out to Maine and have Chris Brewer join us. And Chris is from the Cumberland County Soil and Water Conservation District. Chris, how are you doing in Maine today?
Oh, it's a great day. The sun's out and it might be 60. So, can't
Wow.
complain. So,
Outstanding,
yes,
outstanding, Chris. And let's see if you've got control of the slides now.
yes,
You
I
go.
do. Thanks,
All right.
Ray.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So, so Cumberland County is a little different from the other two counties that we've talked about this morning. We have a little microcosm of kind of everything going on here in Cumberland County. We have lots of forested areas. Maine's largest city, Portland, is also here. So our programs range from urban programs to forestry type programs. So you're going to see all kinds of interesting things. Our district has been separated from NRCS for over 15 years. That separation actually came about amicably. It was just that the USDA was negotiating a new lease, and we had a staff of 6 employees at the time, and we couldn't afford the rental rates at the buildings they were looking at. So our district decided to go out on their own and find a lease that they can afford. And 2 buildings later, I'm happy to report that we actually just purchased 2 years ago the building that we were renting, and it's now ours, and we're able to start doing conservation practices around the building. We're actually going to be retrofitting our parking lot to show all kinds of new urban stormwater control systems, focal points, all that kind of stuff. So we're very excited about that. Districts in Maine receive a minimal amount of base funding. So the state of Maine provides each district about $25,000 to cover their operations. And then the county funding is very various. For example, here, even though it's the largest county in population wise, we receive $18,000 from Cumberland County. So all of our programs are based on fee for service, grants, and fundraising. So that requires our staff of 7 employees to be highly entrepreneurial. We work very hard trying to promote soil and water conservation programs, but not, overstepping partnerships and so on. So, we work with NRCS to do the agriculture programs, and then we try to fit in everything else with our partners. So you're going to see a lot of interesting things. So we're kind of trying to, this district is definitely focused on the positive, and we've moved forward in a lot of interesting things. So this is kind of just broken down into soil and water because that's how we look at everything. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of some of our programs. And Maine did just complete, as you saw, a climate change goal system, and we're aiming to be increasing our local food production to 30% in the state of Maine by 2030. We don't have a lot of time for that. So we have a soil-led awareness program in Greater Portland. Many years ago, there was a fire in Portland and it destroyed most of the city. And at that time, they just bulldozed everything and refilled the city with the landfill. So their soils in a lot of the neighborhoods in Portland are highly toxic and filled with lead. So this became a great concern to us during COVID because people were starting to grow fruits and vegetables in their yards at home. And, we didn't want that to be happening unaware that they could be, contaminating their food with lead. So this program, actually, we go around and sample soils and help landowners figure out better ways to grow home gardens. We also just worked with NACD to complete a community agriculture planning project where we actually work with communities to write community agriculture plans. So they have a plan in place to figure out how best to promote local agriculture in their communities, from food forests to community gardens. So that's really, really exciting. We just purchased another piece of equipment that we lease. This one is a soil steamer. This is a grant actually from the Maine DACF. We're going to try this out to see if steaming soils in the high tunnels that NRCS is providing to farmers will allow us to actually use non-chemical weed treatment and control and extend the growing season by, if we can get that thing in there like now, they could actually prep the soil and get plants in early. So that this is a test. We don't know how it's going to work, but we're excited to find out. So then water protection is huge here in Cumberland County. The Sebago Lake is the second largest lake in the county, and it is also the public drinking water source for Portland, which means that it provides the drinking water for about 30% of the state's population. So I think I've lost control, Ray. There we go. I got it back. So we've divided a lot of what we do in this realm into three kind of partner and customer bases. So there's the municipal partners, where we actually work with our municipal partners to help them implement their municipal stormwater plans. So I don't know, probably a lot of you don't know what an MS4 is, and you're lucky if you don't. Essentially, it's a permit that the towns have to operate under to control their stormwater programs. So we help them with that mostly through education and outreach. We also work with a lot of our community towns. They come in and help us with 319 projects and so on and so forth, and they actually will provide funding for those programs. And then we also want to focus on making sure that we work closely with our partners. So we work with like Casco Bay Estuary Partnership. We serve on training committees with DEP, and we work with many of the local lake associations, not just for 319, but for other services. And then, yeah, we definitely work with the landowners, but our landowners are a little different than, say, the Midwest folks that are all agriculture or whatever. We have definitely a diverse group of people. We sometimes are on the shoreline of a lake. Other times we're looking at flooding issues in the middle of the city of Portland. So just to give you an idea of where our projects tend to focus, we do lakes and urban program and stream programs. And then our partners mostly deal with the ocean and the Casco Bay. And another big program that we have here is the Greater Portland is seeing a lot of development. So we have partnered with the communities here and the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. And we actually provide reviews of stormwater plans for development to make sure that they're actually planning their projects to treat stormwater in a sustainable way long-term. So that provides a lot of work for our district engineer. It's pretty much all he does, to be honest. And then another project that we're very proud of is our education program actually has 2 full-time employees. So we provide, even through COVID, we were able to provide classroom education to over, sorry, I skipped a slide, to about 1,000 students in 8 communities. And that was really exciting to be able to do that through COVID. It was interesting the way we did it. We were able to get into a few schools following safety protocols, but a lot of times our staff were actually here using Zoom and a couple of video cameras that we cobbled together so they could zoom in on what they were trying to show students. It was really exciting. And then we also focus heavily on our adult education programs, and somehow we managed to do 38 workshops last year, and we had about 800 attendees. And we also annually host a 5K event, and that helps fund our youth education program. And then an example of the forestry programs that we're doing, we're actually more in the awareness programs of invasive forest pests. Maine is about 80% forested. So our largest concern here is that an invasive pest could come in and destroy Maine's woodlands. So a a lot of our outreach is geared towards homeowners who are, bringing wood in from other places and definitely camping. We want to make sure that the wood that's used in a campfire is local and not brought in from somewhere else, because it could carry in a pest that could decimate Maine's forestry. So, all right, so that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of our presentation. Just wanted to show you a little bit of how, we operate here in Maine. We're unique in the sense that, we don't get a lot of funding. So you'll see that $780,000, $90,000 was mostly generated, again, from fee-for-service programs and grants.
Chris, how is it that you became, this is a very impressive set of work that you do in your district. How did you become not co-located with USDA? Review that.
Yeah, so just we, over 15 years ago, just, as they were renegotiating to move into a new building, we couldn't afford the rent that they were looking at. So our
Okay.
district just moved out on its own,
Okay.
took a leap of faith, and it worked out.
So it was rent related then, move.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't, yeah. Yep.
Mhm. And we had a question come in, and we'll make sure that we cover that one during the questions and discussion period that we've got coming up. Let me encourage you all, open up that item in your Zoom task item there. Any of our presenters, Amy, Cami, Chris, coming up as Anisha, just ask them questions and we'll get to those here in just a bit. So we'll have a more in-depth discussion about some of these things, but thanks so much, Chris. 15 years ago, you said, right?
Yes.
15 years ago. That's a long time you've been operating. Yeah, are most of Maine's districts not co-located?
There are 3 districts that are not co-located. The others are all still co-located. Yep.
3 of how many again?
There are 16 of us. So
yeah.
Yep.
And also want to remind folks not only to enter your questions into the questions dashboard, but also if we whet your appetite here with just these short vignettes, right, of presentation, do take the time to recontact with these folks. They put their contact information up. Both Mike and I have that, and Aaron, we all have that information on our presenters, and they've all agreed to be available to you if you wanted to speak offline or visit, by phone or email with them too. And we thank our presenters for that. Chris, thanks so much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Outstanding work. All right.